So thank you everyone for coming here today. We're going to talk today about navigating the COVID-19 job market. So I hope this is helpful for you wherever you are in your search. I'm going to kind of gauge to see where you all are at. So overview of the session, just to make sure you're in the right place and that this is going to be helpful for you. Close that. In this session, we will discuss resources and tips for continuing your career search during this time. So hopefully it can help you if you're actively looking for a job or internship, or if you just want more information on the current market landscape. I hope that this can give you information on your next steps. So some goals of the session that I'm hoping that you can walk away from is to utilize online resources to monitor the impact of the virus on both industries as a whole and companies specifically. Also want you to be able to implement strategies to network and be proactive with your career development during this time, and have a realistic understanding of the job market and its possible influence on your next steps, but also remaining optimistic about what is out there. Okay, so I'm going to close this for a minute and open up another link here and have you all fill out this poll real quick. So it's just 2 questions. And first, I just want to know, give this a second to load. It's just how you're currently feeling when it comes to your job and internship search. So you can just type in some words or phrases, like it says here. You can join at slido.com. You can also use that QR code on your phone, and go ahead and just type in how you're feeling, and it'll start populating some words in like a word cloud for us. Let me know if you have any issues accessing it. Okay, we have uncertain and anxious. Definitely understandable. I think I might have broken up that phrase there, but we have stressed, and then paid internships. Maybe can't find paid internships. Delayed, stressed. Absolutely. I know we have a small group too, so we can move on to the next one unless anyone feel free to jump, put any more words in there. But absolutely, and it's totally understandable to be feeling like that. That's definitely a big part of why I wanted to do this session today, to maybe help reduce some of those anxieties a little bit and help you think of, what can you have control over right now in this very uncertain situation. So just want to totally validate those feelings, and hopefully it's helpful just to sometimes put them out there and be like, not that it's necessarily making it any better, but just get it off your chest of this is how I'm feeling. But hopefully some of the strategies we talk about today will help you maybe feel a little bit less anxious. That's my hope. Okay, and then our second one is, I'm curious to see where you are in your job internship search. So if you can just click on one of those that you feel like describes your situation, feel free, if you have anything different, you can write that in the chat box, or try to cover a few different topics there. Okay, so we have, I'm looking for an internship. Looking for a full-time job. Okay, so I think that's all 3 folks. Yep, so we have 2 looking for a job, 1 looking for an internship. Okay, that's good to know. And I think hopefully today then these things will especially be helpful for you. I'm glad to hear no one's offer or anything has been rescinded because of COVID-19. That has happened to some people. We'll talk about that when we go over sort of the impact of this, but I'm really glad that, that hasn't necessarily happened to anyone so far. So we're going to talk about some strategies you can use to still look for jobs and internships during this time. So thank you for participating in that. Let me close that out and I'll go back into our PowerPoint here. All right. So understanding the impact. So want to talk today about, just before we go into the strategies, I also want you to get an understanding of what has been happening because of COVID-19. So this is from a poll from NACE, which is the National Association of Colleges and Employers. So NACE is a professional association that brings together a lot of colleges around the nation with employers to be able to, help college graduates and help those companies sort of hand in hand. So they work together, and they have produced a coronavirus quick poll. So they started this back in March, and they've been sending weekly sort of mini reports every week, which has been really helpful for us in career services to kind of gather what this information is looking like. So this was updated as of last Friday, and keep in mind the sample size is only 353 employers. So, you know, it's a good sample size, but think about how many employers are out there. So, you know, this is not going to be true for everything that you're reading, but I think it's good just to give you an idea. So this is the percentage of people that have been revoked, or employers that have been revoking offers to full-time recruits and interns. So 59% are not revoking offers to full-time recruits and interns. Another 22% are not revoking offers yet, but they are considering it. 19% of employers are revoking offers to interns, and only about 3.5% of employers are revoking offers to full-time recruits. So what you can see from here is the reality is, unfortunately, internships are being hit a little bit harder than full-time roles. And I think that makes sense if you think about sort of the nature of internships. And a big part of that is getting to be at the place and getting to network with folks, really getting to learn. And that's a little bit harder to do sometimes in a virtual capacity. So I think that's, and also considering budget constraints, if companies are starting to cut down on budgets, internships may be something that they get rid of before full-time recruits. But I also share these numbers somewhat positively that, you know, almost 60% are not revoking those offers, and another 22% may, but are on the fence. So the majority of them are still offering or keeping the offers that they've made, which is, I think, is pretty positive. Okay, another thing is specifically with internships. I know we had a couple people still searching for internships. So 22% are making no changes. So you can see here that it's less likely that you'll be an internship that will completely go as planned pre-COVID-19. It's more likely that there is going to be some kind of change to it, but it'll still be able to happen. So for example, 40% are reducing the length of the internship by delaying the start date. You may have heard of friends or other people who have experienced that. 42% are moving interns to a virtual program. 24% are moving events online, such as end of program presentations, and 19% are reducing the number of interns. So that's just to show you sort of what, if you get an internship, what that might look like. So the most common things are reducing the length of the internship or moving them to a virtual program. So it's good that it's able to still happen, but there is going to be some change involved in that. Okay, and then a couple other things, especially if you are not a senior. So some expectations for recruiting for the class of 2021. This is from employers. 64% are planning to recruit at the same level as they did for the class of 2020. And then you can see, you know, a pretty small number, only 14% are decreasing the number of recruits, so not a massive number. A little bit are increasing the number, and then 17% are still deciding. There's definitely a group that are still sort of waiting to see where things go from here. But definitely a vast majority are planning to recruit at the same level or increase. So about 70% are either staying at the same or increasing. And then expectations for attending career fairs in the fall. So that may be important to you if you're trying to find an internship or job for next year. So 60% plan to attend on campus as well as virtually. 13% plan to attend on campus only. 7% plan to attend only virtually, and 11% are still deciding. One trend that I've noticed, because I've been monitoring this report every so often, the still deciding number has gone down, which kind of means employers are making more decisions now that we're more informed. But it's good to see that 60% still want to attend on campus and virtually. Okay, so that was a lot there. Feel free to unmute yourself or type a comment in the chat box if you have any questions about sort of those statistics. And that, like I said, let me go back. That poll you can find if you just Google NACE coronavirus quick poll. But I'm also happy to share this out with anyone. So feel free, if you want this PowerPoint afterwards, I'm happy to share that for you. If it's easier for you than taking notes, just let me know. Okay, so now I want to dive into some online resources. So I hope that these are really helpful for you. I've found them to be very helpful when working with students. The first one here is called Github. So this is specifically for internships, and it's an extensive list of companies and their internship status. So it's crowdsourced, which means it comes from people, company reps, so they may work for that company. So the info can't be 100% verified, which is with a few of these, but it is updated continually, and it's a good source to be able to at least have one perspective and then to be able to look into that further. And so let me click on that, and then I can walk through it a little bit more. Like I said, it's updated continuously. And again, called Github. And so at the top here, they're going to show places that are actively hiring for internships. So you can see right here, active hiring list. So you can scroll down and you can see, you know, software test intern, engineer, software engineering, people data list internship. So you can take a look at the company and see what they have available here. And there's still a lot that you can see are still hiring. So that might be helpful if you're just looking like what else is even hiring right now. Definitely check that out. If you're wondering what the status of, oh, I don't think we had anyone in this group, but if you are wondering about the status of certain companies, you can see here a status list. So this is the X's will show you which companies have canceled their internships. So you can scroll down and see, and if there's any notes, they'll include that as well. And even though these X lists can be pretty sad, if you keep scrolling, you'll also see a big list of these checks. So this is for companies that are continuing internships. So they're probably not actively hiring because they've already hired, but you can see what that looks like here. And there's a lot in this active hiring list. It's larger than the X's, which is promising. So that's nice if you have any friends too who are wondering sort of where they stand in their internships. This is a good site to show them, as well as the active hiring list for you and anyone else who's looking. So that's one resource. Let me close that out. There's also a Twitter feed that's linked to GitHub. So it's basically the same thing, but if you're a big Twitter user, it might be helpful to kind of get these constant updates. So I'll just click on that so you can see what that looks like. The handle is at, what was it? At hiring 2020, I think. Yeah. So like I said, it's linked. I think if you click on that, it'll take you to the page we were just on. And like I said, this has a disclaimer as well. You know, it's crowdsourced, so it's possible some of the information is not 100% accurate. But you can see these are just constantly updating with new information. So Vanguard, virtual internships, Quicken Loans, start date moved to early June, considering remote, decision by early May. So it can be helpful. Again, like I said, if you don't use Twitter, obviously this might not be the best one for you. But if you're on Twitter and you want to get these updates, I just wanted to make you aware of that one too. Okay. Another one is candor.com. So this is a live list of companies freezing hiring and those that are still hiring. So this lists about 5,000 companies. It's a huge resource. Again, crowdsourced. So some people may know something who are working there and they're providing this information. Let me click on that one. For those looking for jobs, this is a really great one. And if you just go to candor.co, then click on hiring freezes, this is how you'll get to this page. So if you scroll down here, you see this big updating live chart. And like I said, this has over 5,000 tons of companies in here. And you can go and it's going to be labeled with this green, good to go, they're hiring, yellow, hiring freeze, and then red is that they're actively doing layoffs. So it can be really helpful to see if you're interested in a certain company, and you can even search for them, I believe. Let's see, yeah, in this little search box, you could search for a certain company. So let's type in like Amazon, for example. And then I could see, well, it took me to A's, but it didn't take me exactly to Amazon. So you might have to, I guess, still find it yourself. Let's see, if you were curious to see where Amazon stood, which I know we saw on the other one, they are still hiring for interns. It's taking a while because there we go, it did highlight it for us. So Amazon, and there's multiple reports, so that can be a little confusing, but you can read these notes. So it says hiring, but also says hiring freeze. And it says multiple reports of a hiring freeze. You can click this to see more. So here's some notes about their hiring, but then if you scroll down too, you can see here's some notes about hiring freeze. So sometimes depending on the position, you know, they may be doing a hiring freeze for some positions and hiring for other positions. So if you see conflicting reports, definitely read those notes. And then it also will sometimes have a link over here to where to apply. Exit out of that. So like I said, tons on here to scroll through to just see what companies are hiring. And this can be helpful for internships as well, especially if it wasn't on GitHub. You can look at this as well just to see, are they hiring or not? Because that'll probably include internships. Okay. And then I also want to show you, if you scroll down on this site, it also has a really nice chart on industries with the most hiring freezes and layoffs. So not just companies, but industries as a whole. So it's, you know, it shows how many companies they're tracking. And you can see the green is for hiring, yellow hiring freeze, and red is layoffs here. And then this percentage is the percentage that are having a freeze or layoff. So it's really helpful to just think about what your plans may look like for the future and what sort of companies you may want to work for. So for example, government and defense is one of the areas that's doing kind of the best right now in terms of having a limited amount of hiring freezes and layoffs. As you can imagine, that's an industry that still really needs support right now. So only 24% have a freeze or a layoff, which is really promising compared to something up here, which I'm sure you're not surprised to see, travel and transportation, and that has 76%. Another one that I think is hard is marketing and advertising, because I know that's a field that a lot of people go into, but you can see that they are struggling a bit with their numbers. So it's just helpful to kind of look at this to think, okay, well, maybe I want to do some sort of marketing and advertising work, but rather than working for a firm, maybe I can look for opportunities in different industries that I hadn't considered before. So it's kind of can be helpful to think about how to broaden your search. So maybe now you could be looking for marketing positions in government and defense, or in staffing and recruiting, in the legal field. So it's just gonna be helpful to think kind of how we might reframe what you're willing to do for your internship or your job. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, about being kind of open to different opportunities. Okay, let me go back here. A few other resources I want to show you. The next one is the Muse, and this is just an article actually that lists some companies hiring during COVID-19. So this probably has less than the other resources I showed you, but I think it can still be helpful. And it even is recognizing, I think, that I'm in Boston because it's giving me hot jobs in Boston. But if you scroll down, it's saying these companies are still available for internships and or jobs. So let's see, we can scroll down, you can see some of them here. We have Facebook here, so let me click on that one, explore open jobs. It's nice that it'll take you right to this page. And so let's say I want to look for internships here at Facebook. So they still have a lot of interns that are available. It looks like some require a PhD, but I don't think all of them do, like product design intern. Granted, that's an international one, but you can take a look at what's on there. Research intern, human-computer interaction, that's in Washington. So that's an example of one. And then let's see what other companies we have. We also have Wells Fargo. You can see what's available on that. And for this one, let's try full-time jobs to see what we get. So for this one, we have some in closer to North Carolina, Raleigh, and Georgia as well for home mortgage consultant, junior position. So that's going to be entry level. So just another helpful one. You may want to do a quick look at that company list and see if there's any of those are of interest to you. There's also this great list of internship opportunities from LinkedIn that was actually, it's an Excel sheet that was compiled by a current Elon student who will be working full-time with LinkedIn after graduation. So it's very kind of them to share this with us. And like I said, I can send out this PowerPoint if you want this link, because this is really helpful. It's going to take a minute, but this has tons of stuff in it. Not right now. Okay, here we go. So yeah, this is great, and it'll also have the link on where to apply. And if you wanted, you could sort it by location. If you're hoping to be somewhere in particular, you can search by companies. You could probably even try to search by keyword if you wanted. So certain things pop up, like I see economics intern right there, public policy. So, if you typed in those, you can see what kind of things pop up. All right, and last thing is just some additional resources that we always recommend. So first is Elon Job Network, as well as LinkedIn and Indeed and other sites. As of Friday, there were 303 full-time or postgraduate fellowship opportunities and 151 internships posted. That was as of Friday. There's also 30 part-time jobs on Elon Job Network, and they range from things like seasonal warehouse associate at Wayfair, which is in Boston, or a summer camp counselor at a camp in the Catskill Mountains of New York. So, even if an internship doesn't work out, you could also take a look and see what part-time opportunities there are. So I just want to always remind you about Elon Job Network, because your odds may be a little better when you use Elon Job Network compared to other things like Indeed or LinkedIn, because these employers have worked with us and they've agreed that, they kind of want Elon talent. So Not saying, again, don't look at those other sites, but look at EJN first and see what options there are. Because if you're using other sites, then that means you're competing against everyone else. And, you know, unfortunately, as I'm sure that you know of, unemployment claims, you know, have continued to increase. And so there's people who were in maybe mid-level positions who now may be competing at the same jobs that recent grads are contributing if you're looking for a full-time job. So again, more competition outside of EJN. So it would be better for you to start at least your search there. And same with internships too. You know, you're competing with everyone else when you use another platform. So I definitely recommend starting with that. And LinkedIn and Indeed are just a couple other examples. There's lots of other sites you can use to search for jobs and internships. I know that was a lot of resources I kind of threw at you. And like I said, I'm happy to share this with anyone afterwards. If you want to stay on or type in your email into the chat, I can, or send me an email after. I'm happy to send that to you as well. But any questions on online resources before we move on to some other tips? Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, so also just want to, now that we talked about online resources, and I know this isn't the case for anyone in this group, but just to keep in mind, you know, what should I do if I'm not sure of the status of my job or internship? Make sure you reach out to check on the status. It's certainly okay to do so, but also be patient and express gratitude and empathy. So realize that it may take a bit for them to get back to you, and try to definitely express that you're thankful to have this opportunity, and be empathetic in terms of, you know, ask them how they're doing, you know, how's their family, are they staying safe? That goes a long way. And then what if your job internship offer has been rescinded? Make sure you maintain a positive relationship with the employer. So you do not want to burn bridges with these companies. You want to really maintain a positive relationship with them, because, you know, if you're respectful and grateful, they may call you when the market rebounds and ask you to come back if you've maintained a good relationship with them. And then still put the canceled experience on your cover letter or resume. We actually just read an article that someone in our office shared out about doing this, which was interesting. It's not something I would have thought of. And so that's why I want to make sure that you realize that you can still do this. So put basically what you were going to do, and just say you didn't get the chance because of COVID-19 in the way that you describe it. So sort of in your bullet points or in a cover letter, of course, you can sort of write more of a sentence on that. But the point of that is to really be transparent. And it's better to do that than to leave a gap of employment that they won't necessarily know what it's from. And, you know, you won't keep it on there forever, but it's good to have for now. And it shows really that you did everything right, that you networked, you went to career fairs, employer sessions, you know, you did well on the interview and were offered this position. It shows that you really put in the work, and then it can kind of be used as leverage. So even though no work was completed, canceled internships or jobs show that an employer was interested in the candidate and that the candidate stood out from others. I hope that makes sense there. Okay, some last tips and strategies as we finish up. We might go a little bit over 2:30, so if you need to leave for another thing, feel free, but I'll try to wrap this up in the next few minutes here. So first thing here is to strengthen your online presence. So if you haven't already, make sure you create a LinkedIn profile or update it. Take the time to make sure you do that. You can also work on a personal website or portfolio. So these are all great things to be doing sort of in this limbo that we're in. Also take the time to grow your network, and this kind of goes hand in hand with the online presence. So use this time to reach out to others in your field or industry and set up informational interviews. So connect with Elon alumni or other folks on LinkedIn, for example, and you can message them to see if you can set up like a brief phone or WebEx meeting with them. It's a great way to learn more about companies as well as individual people's career paths, and it can help you build more professional relationships, essentially with folks who could refer you to opportunities in the future. And we have great resources on our website for LinkedIn. We even have a LinkedIn webinar that Ross Wade, who is in the School of Communications, did. So if you're interested in really building LinkedIn from the ground up, we can definitely send you that. And like I said, there's other resources on LinkedIn on our website as well. And you can even make an appointment with an advisor to go over LinkedIn, whether you're updating it or creating it from scratch. And also utilize the SPDC's virtual resources, virtual services, and online resources. So I know it's hard when you can't necessarily see us, but we are still open virtually. You can live chat on the SPDC website for quick questions. That's available 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. You can also make virtual appointments using EJN, And that way a career advisor can meet with you like this via WebEx or over the phone or even through email for like resume feedback, for example. And we have plenty of online resources that were always available, but now may be an even better time to check those out. So for example, we have Big Interview, which is a great platform to be able to practice interviewing. You basically film yourself and you get to practice with different questions and you can watch that feedback. We also have My Plan, which is a career exploration. You can take some assessments. We also have cover letter resources, resumes, and interview guides. And then let's see. Oh, we also will have more meetups coming up, so feel free to take advantage of those, as well as virtual information sessions with employers. Okay, some additional tips and strategies, and we're almost done here, is to be proactive. So based on the stats and resources I showed you, there are absolutely still opportunities out there. So don't wait to apply. If you're on the front end, that can only help you. And let's see. While others may stop applying over fears of uncertainty, you can continue with your career search, working even harder and trying to stay ahead of that curve. So I'd absolutely recommend for you to do that. And then this goes back to what we talked about earlier, really being open to new or maybe different opportunities. So there's lots of hiring opportunities in areas that you may not think of, that may not be as flashy or as exciting to you, may not be at the top of your list. So for example, things like working in supply chain or food or health retail. So companies such as Walmart or Walgreens, Amazon, FedEx, things like that. Now is really the time to think about what could a plan be what could plan B be for you? So, it's not the time to stick entirely to plan A. This is what I've always wanted to do. You're going to have to think a little bit about what else are you open to doing, because things definitely have changed. And so it's good to be aware of that. And also remember that a first job or an internship that you have is not a forever job. If you're doing this for a little bit, you are going to have opportunities down the line. And that was a thing before COVID-19, that a first job is not a forever job. And then prepare for change. So similar there, really, just understanding that there is uncertainty during this time. There's going to be things that you can't control. And there will be things that happen that don't go according to plan. Like, there have been people who have lost internship opportunities, job opportunities, and that's really hard. But, all of this, I think, has reminded us that we can't sometimes control a lot of things that happen to us, but you can try to control your reaction to it and the steps that you can take that are within your control. And that's what I've definitely tried to outline for y'all today. And then the last thing is just to maintain positivity, practice gratitude, and take care of yourself. So I know that can be hard sometimes, but try to stay active, eat well, talk to a counselor if you need to. I know Elon Health Services and counseling services are still available to you. Take up a new hobby, and then every day just try to find things that you can be grateful for in this environment. So just want to remind you that despite all this, I really hope that you take that to heart and try to find ways to do that every day. All right, so that was a lot right there. But I want to put up my email here in case you have any questions or you would like to have this PowerPoint sent to you. I'm happy to do that. I'll give you a minute in case you want to write that down or take a picture of it. And then I'll stop sharing my screen in a second. All right, and I'm going to stop recording this.